Dead Island 2, a vast, sort of, open world, sort of, apocalyptic action experience built upon slaying zombies with the whacked out weapons of your choice that cater to any playstyle imaginable. So I had the brilliant idea of stripping myself of this freedom by not using a single weapon. The rules are simple. I have to beat Dead Island 2 without killing anything with weapons or curveballs. The only items I can use are heals, such as medkits, protein bars, and energy drinks, and utility items like gas cans, water cans, or any sort of battery.
Catch this!
Everything else is off the table. So, can I successfully rampage my way through Los Angeles like the crackheads of Skid Row do? Or will I fall on my face and live in eternal torment? Let's see if I can beat Dead Island 2 without using weapons. When a band of misfits all collide, literally and figuratively, on an airplane, we are given the choice to select which character we want to begin the zombie onslaught with. I went with Carla because I think her innate skills will be helpful. Considering I'll be hands-on with these zombies, I think it's a safe bet to assume I'll be swinging in that mosh pit. After a horrific plane crash, I woke up in agonizing pain. I looked around at all the destruction and realized my stomach was being penetrated by a foreign body.
I'm hit!
After I slapped some Jack Daniels and a Band-Aid on, I was surely gonna be okay.
I am a surgeon!
So after patching myself up and limping through this airplane, I finally got a look of California on your average Tuesday. Forest fires. But then, a flare went off. This might be the way out of this hellhole. So I made my way through the burning maze and saw what I thought to be a human, but no, it was just a charred guy, and after a quick teabag, I was on my way again. I continued my way forward, but of course, I ran into a roadblock. I couldn't punch, kick, slap, or frankly do anything to this box other than hit it with the piece of junk stuck next to it. Considering this box isn't sentient, nor a zombie, I figured it would be allowed. I trudged through the wreckage and learned how to kick at the ripe age of 32, and finally found the flare shooters. Unfortunately, I found the Three Stooges, a deaf guy, a gay guy, and a famous girl who seemed to be only concerned about footwear.
Can I talk to your shoe?
But just then, under two pieces of conveniently placed rubble, I found Joshua and his, maybe alive lover? We tried just so hard to help them, but they just couldn't be saved.
Skill issue.
Famous girl Emma Jaunt wrote her address on my arm, and off they went, leaving me with the two... Oh wait.
Who the fuck is that guy?
I wasn't sure who this joker was, but of course I approached as the white savior I am, and as a shocker to nobody, it was a zombie. But now I was in a predicament. I still couldn't drop my weapon, and now I had a hungry zombie on the hunt. There was no way to drop it, throw it, scrap it for parts, nothing. So what did I do? Well, I started kicking. I was literally doing 1 damage, but it was enough to finally kill the first zombie after about 10 minutes. After this zombie, I was able to drop the weapon and proceed with the knuckles. I cleared out the area and closed off the entry point before finally getting back to Josh and his dame, but I was too late. Romeo and Juliet had turned sour, and instead of dying together, Juliet ate me. And then ate Romeo. Very sad, but I guess at least they died together. But now I have more of a serious problem. I done got bit. The lights were closing in, it was hard to breathe, I could barely move, until this title screen wide shot, of course, and the only place I knew to go was written on my arm. L.A., here I come. I blacked out from all that long distance running and found myself at some rich guy's front gate. I conveniently found a map and a battery and powered up this gate. Who knows what goodies would be inside this estate? I punched and I punched until they all looked the same. I kicked and I dodged till every zombie was maimed. Yes, thank you, I know I'm very talented. Anyways, I broke inside and found this little old Colt Swanson chilling in his useless panic room. I beat him senseless, robbed the place, and made it out without a scratch on my face. Okay, I'm sorry, I promise I'm done now. I made my way to Emma Jaunt's front gate, and to my surprise, they actually let me in. However, the first 30 seconds were spent looking down the front of a barrel until I collapsed and thought I was dead for sure. I woke up a bit later, handcuffed and intact, and I was actually feeling pretty good, all things considered. From the looks of these survivors, they wouldn't stand a chance alone, so I valiantly stepped up and became their protector. I was like Captain America to these low-life peasants. Money can buy a lot of things, but in a zombie apocalypse, it can only get you so far. I watched as zombies began breaking through the front gate, and considering I was now Captain America, it was my problem to deal with. So I did.
Okay, oh my.
I went outside, powered up the gate, and handled it like a real man. Or woman. I don't really know. Thankfully, my deed didn't go unnoticed, and we broke out some whiskey to settle our differences. That was until Hoodoo Voodoo Sam B broke in with his shotgun, and based on this interaction, it was clear that LA's princess liked that Sam B BBC. Who knew? But after finding out that Sam B was immune to the virus, maybe I was too. I had an epiphany, and it felt like I needed to tell the whole world I was immune. So that's what I did. So I left Emma John's crib and set sail on a bright new adventure to the Halperin Hotel, where help might still be alive. I found this old man on the way, but he couldn't really help me. He basically just had me do his dirty work. I then left and found my way to the Hype House, where someone was cooking up a YouTube apology and probably encouraging premarital sex, which is a sin. You dirty teenagers, you. I took care of the place and eradicated anyone who wasn't a virgin, and I believe that was everyone. Each step, punch, and kick finally led me to the Halperin Hotel that looked kinda run down. I was a little nervous and wasn't sure what to expect. It was oddly quiet after I took out the first wave of zombies, and I was a little confused. What was going on here? I found my way out back where a literal cesspool was built. It seemed as though the military were dissolving bodies in this toxic goop. To, I guess, stop the spread? I'm not really sure. All I knew was that some crazy lady was yelling over the intercom and now zombies were coming to eat me. Since I knew the goop would be toxic to the zombies, that was kinda my strategy. Dropkick the dead meat to cook in the pool. The biggest problem so far with the no weapons challenge was the lack of stamina. I'm not sure if it was poor character choice on my part or just how the game is, but dropkicking takes a lot of stamina. So I was forced to run around the pool and train the zombies COD style while regaining my stamina. Eventually, after a while, it worked out and the final few zombies fell to my iron fist and steel toe boots. Now I needed to find out who was heckling me over this intercom. My hunch was that it was some military commander, but time will tell. I made my way inside the hotel, took out some zombies, looted some bathroom soaps, and made my way to the source of that annoying ass voice. Fortunately and unfortunately, there was nothing left. This bitch was taken out to pasture by something much scarier and much bigger than her. And me.
Holy Christ, there's nothing left.
I wasn't gonna wait around and find out, so I took the master keys and ditched that room as fast as I could. Now I could finally unlock the ballroom and steal the radio. It looked like a wedding was happening, or did happen? I don't really know. But it was kind of sweet, I guess. Anyways, I grabbed the radio and spoke to a Dr. Reed who seemed pretty confident in his abilities to experiment on me. But then I was interrupted by, oh my god. Becky the Gym Bro Bridezilla came to rip my head off. I wasn't sure how much damage the old Mustang and Sally would do to her, but it wasn't too bad. The main goal was to stagger her, hit her with a couple jabs, then finish off the combo with a dropkick. I did this several times to her while also leading her under a dangerous electrical wire to add some shock value to the fight. I'm too good. After about 15 minutes of our first dance, Becky was destroyed, and I was officially filing for divorce. I went back to Emma John's house with some good news, but she was reluctant to leave and wanted to talk to Michael first. But Michael was gone, and the Chihuahua informed me that he took his keys and went to his house in Beverly Hills. So, of course, it was time to follow the brown-nosed scent of Michael's lack of self-esteem all the way to his pad in Beverly Hills. The military had blocked off most of the zones, so fighting undead soldiers seemed to be a running theme. After I cleared out the front gate, I went through and made my way to Michael's house, where I was attacked by zombies with bees. I went inside and looted his house to find clues and booze, and two stools having angry sex with each other.
What the hell?
I found the address of a Jessie Kwan, so naturally I headed to her place. I found 160 IQ Ricky wearing panties and living it up. It seems as though the clues had led me to more booze. He told me he'd let me in if I cleared out the backyard and closed the gate. I succeeded with hot and electric colors and made my way inside, where I met Roxy. They were perfect for each other. They were both dumber than doorknobs, but hey, at least they knew who Michael was. They told me Jessie would probably know where she was, so once again I was off trying to find this mysterious Jessie. I began exploring around Beverly Hills until I started to hear something. I followed the noise and made my way into some sort of construction zone. There were traps everywhere. I made my way upstairs where I could hear a woman crying for help. I took out the zombies trying to eat her brains and destroyed the loudspeaker. And to nobody's surprise, it was Jessie. I asked her if she knew where Michael was, and thankfully she did. Apparently he was going to Monarch Studios. He was going to get something important. This piqued my interest and definitely wasn't going to be disappointing.
Do you see?
I left Jessie to do whatever it is she does and went and headed right to the old movie lot. It was dark by the time I got there, and it seemed as though the set was wrapped for the night. I killed the remaining zombies, looted some famous trailers, and went inside the soundstage to check out the sets. I made my way through different parts of the movie, playing the effects and taking out the zombies in style. Practical. I like it. My assumption was that Emma John was in this film, and her trailer would be around here somewhere, and that's where Micah would be. And my hunch was correct. I found my way to where the giant spider was and found Emma John's trailer to find Michael with a fire extinguisher? How he got this far was beyond me. Then I was approached by a zombie who liquefied in my hands. Kinda gross. But behind that was something even more nasty. I think Mr. Hernandez was method acting a little too hard because he was very convincing. The trick with this boss fight was to keep moving and keep turning on the effects. Also, don't punch the giant fuel tanker. It will not end well for you. I gave Fat Man Hernandez a nice dose of Pepsid and fired his ass from the set. Afterwards, I went and talked to Michael in the trailer. He was acting kinda strange and was more on edge than usual. Then I realized this sorry-ass man came all the way over here for her award. What a sick joke. Before I could lash out, I got a call from Sam B, who said he had the location of some guns, which I won't be using, but I guess would be helpful for the other survivors. I made my way to the location in question and found Sam B and Ronnie. Sam B took the back while Ronnie and I made a break for the front. Unfortunately for Ronnie, his Riz was not a W and was taken out pretty swiftly. Now I had to take on a horde of zombies by myself with no weapons. Great! Finally, after taking out every single zombie, Sam B broke into the gun room and handed me my first gun, which I promptly threw on the ground. Of course, this next section was one of those missions that was kind of like a house defense, and I was not going to be able to use a gun. So instead of staying perched upstairs like Chris Kyle, I was forced to get down and dirty with my hands like Joe Mixon. After fighting off waves and waves of different zombies, I had finally taken out the last one. A gun would have definitely made this section easier, but it wasn't the worst thing in the world. I let Sam B know about Dr. Reed and his plan to make a vaccine with my blood in Santa Monica. He seemed unconvinced, so we headed back to Emma John's place where we found a unsurprisingly infected Michael. It was time to let Michael tend the rabbits, so I obliged him.
He's pulling his cock out!
Emma was pissed and kicked me out of her house. Sam B and the Chihuahua wanted me to stay, but I was absolutely not going to. The CDC wanted my blood and I wasn't going to let them down. Sam B gave me a tip on how he made it out of Benoit alive through the sewers. Maybe it wasn't such a bad idea now. I mean, it's not like there's ever anything down in the sewers, right? I mean, right? No, don't shoot! Once I got to the foul intestinal tract of Los Angeles, I took out the zombies at the poop chute and waltzed my way right inside. After trudging through God knows what, I made my way to a boiler room where I found some guy living it up. His name was Patton, but his name should have been Pad-ton, because he had one hell of a setup in this sewer. He saved my life and took me in. I mean, what a nice guy. It was unfortunate that this guy was off his meds. I mean, if you lived in the sewer, I think you would be too. He told me about his war buddies and his love for Emma Jaunt, and he just wanted to watch a movie, but I had better things to do. Instead of trapping me and skinning me alive, he actually let me go. I continued my way through the sewers, completing puzzles and killing zombies. I then found my way into this weird hive mind looking place and got pretty spooked, so I hightailed it out of there and made it to a bridge, where I was approached by Conrad? And her cronies? I don't know. She spoke in riddles and made zero sense to me before kicking me off the side of a bridge. I got pissed off and raged out on a bunch of zombies below, which felt pretty good. But now it was time to get out of here for good. I kept moving forward until I eventually found daylight. I continued through the wet grossness until I finally found my Valhalla. A ladder. I climbed up the ladder, wove through some buses, and saw that I made it to Venice Beach. I took a stroll down the road and baked in the fresh sunlight and noticed someone on top of a building. By the looks of it, he needed some help, so I cleared out the area below, shut the gate, and entered to meet the Blue Crab Boys. Another band of misfits, really. You had the chef, the stoner, the weightlifter, and the tough guy. Every box checked. Until the tough guy met an early demise. Remember, kids, smoking kills. After this shocking event, I went to Alex, who was powerlifting his trauma away. He told me some of his meathead buddies were still out there as zombies and seeking revenge? I made my way to the weightlifting central, cleared out the zombies, and made my way into a garage to find my old crazy pal Patton, who was experimenting with one of the meatheads in question. So, you know, I just kind of left him alone to do whatever he's going to do with that head and body, and I went on the hunt for the last meathead, Dylan. I found him in some backlot and quickly realized that this meathead had become a hothead. Fire was everywhere and I had to extinguish him fast. Thankfully, after a few attempts, this trendlord had overdosed on these fists and feet. I went back to Alex to report the news. He didn't really seem upset about it. I invited him to join me on my quest to find the doctor at the hotel, but I wasn't sure it had an all-inclusive gym, so he really wasn't interested in leaving. I sure as hell wasn't staying with these weirdos, so I continued on my journey for an answer. I found a giant military base off the coast and figured something important had to be inside. I found a quarantine corridor, beat up the lieutenant in charge, and made my way into a tight hallway that looked ripe for an ambush. I successfully got out of the hallway, but it got even worse. I was attacked from all sides, and it really took a lot of fisting power to get me through this one. But I did! I killed the last remaining waves of zombies and made my way through the military gate checkpoint, which led me right to Ocean Avenue, where I was certain this hotel would be. And sure enough, there it was. The Serling Hotel. I ran as fast as I could inside and made my way up to the safe house. Finally, maybe we can get some answers. I met Dr. Reed face to face and we had a nice chat until we were rudely interrupted by Tisha and Jimmy. He told me there wasn't anything I could do right now, so I said screw it and took a nap. But I think I was a bad omen because right as I got there, the water went out. The front guard on watch Denise told me Bob had gone to fix the water hours ago and he hadn't returned. I think we all know what that means.
I've been bitten, you stupid prick!
I went down into the maintenance levels and searched for the mysterious Bob, and I finally found him rotting. So I gave him mercy with my foot. I got the water back on and went to tell Denise the good and bad news. She told me Dr. Reed was back in his office, so I went to have a little chat with him. He told me the military had taken over the CDC and they needed proof of my immunity. Sadly, Dr. Reed left his equipment near the Santa Monica Pier. So you know what that means. Fetch quest! I made my way across town and found the CDC HQ where Dr. Reed's toys were. I cleared out the hazmat zombies and found myself inside some creepy looking test facilities. Dr. Reed guided me through the blood extraction process and we finally got our proof. Now, I needed to fight my way out and pick up the equipment on my way back. He said it was a makeshift HQ inside a lifeguard tower, so I made my way into Santa Monica and took in the beautifully horrific view of zombies and roller coasters.
This is beautiful.
I made my way up the tower, but Dr. Reed's friend was missing, and along with the testing equipment. I guess Dr. Bundy was supposed to bring it from the pier to HQ, but he didn't make it. Now I get to go look at the pretty lights and have a true carnival experience. I found Bundy and he wasn't looking so hot. I took him out and nabbed his keycard. Now to find the blood drive, which is basically a fancy term for a laptop. I punched my way through the timeless arcade and kicked my way around a Ferris wheel until every last one of them dropped. I figured it was a great time for a break, so I took a ride on the Ferris wheel. However, something creepy and foreign to my zombie slaying abilities was on the hunt. Of course, it was a clown. He got the jump on me, but I kicked that sucker right off the edge and watched him fall. But he got away. There was no more time for screwing around. I made my way to the end of the pier, which looked like a Saw movie set, drenched in fuel and just burned. Finally, I found the laptop and ripped it out of the dead man's hands. But as I began my laptop jailbreak, I was interrupted by none other than the Ferris wheel clown, Butcho. My god, this guy sucked. His attacks are quick and heavy, and before I could even start dealing massive damage, he would crawl away to heal. I tried again and again and again, trying different strategies, cards, dodge patterns, you name it. Thankfully, my Fury was ready off from the start, so I could experiment when the perfect time to use it was, but it didn't really even help. I tried to get him down to half health and then use it, but he would just crawl away and heal, and I wasn't fast enough for his crawl, I guess. I then found that you could kind of sort of catch him in this block move, and if you move in a circle around him, you can trap him in the animation, but it didn't always work out, and really, I just wasn't dealing enough damage. It got to the point where I was just jumping off the map to reset if he healed too much of his health after using my Fury mode. But after a few more attempts, I had a genius idea. What if instead of jumping off the map myself, there was a way to push him off the map? I put on the Banshee Scream Fury mode because it was the only way I could ragdoll him, and I lured him to the edge and popped my Fury mode, but it just didn't work. There seems to be some sort of light barrier for him. I decided to try it again, and yeah, it actually worked the second time. You can't fully ragdoll his body off the pier, but if you can trap him onto the ledge and just melee him over and over, it's possible his body will just glitch off and he will instantly die. Problem solved! I had to go across this janky bridge again, and it obviously collapsed and sent me straight into the ocean.
I am under the water. Please help me.
Thankfully, I guess in this world, Apple had made a waterproof laptop, so everything was fine and dandy. I made my way back to Dr. Reed with all of the goodies, but was shell-shocked when I found Conrad present. They kept alluding to some sort of dark past that they had with each other, but before I could even question that, Jimmy barged in and told Dr. Reed that Tisha was missing. He made it very clear to me that he needed Tisha back here safely, so as the saint I am, I helped him out. I followed some clues sprinkled around the area and found her in some random apartment. I asked her to come back to the hotel, but she wouldn't budge. Instead, she offered me information that we both wanted, which was what the hell was going on with Dr. Reed. Apparently, there were hotlines that kept Dr. Reed and Conrad in talks, and there was a way to hack into them. I just needed to make my way into an Apple store and say the magic code phrase. Easy. I made my way to the Geek Squad and took out the zombies waiting for the iPhone 17. I said the magic words and I was in. It was a conversation from Conrad and a test subject named Constantine. A lab rat, you know how it goes, which I was basically setting myself up to be. I was sent a random and encrypted photo via text and assumed it was a place I needed to go. It could be a lead on Dr. Reed's lab. I informed Tisha and stormed the area fist a-blazing. And when I finally made it to the heart of the facility, I saw something similar to what was by the pier. Jackpot. I logged into the blood drive but ended up short-circuiting the arm sucker thingy. The supposed dead corpse rotting on the recliner then decided to wake up from his slumber, mutate, and then try to rip my head off. With incredible Jackie Chan skills, I took out the specimen and then started to eat it, I guess? He didn't taste much like a Happy Meal because after my feat, I raged out on Tisha, but I guess she was strong enough to stop me. Where was she during the last fight? Dang. She broke my face and left me to die, but before my dirt nap, I was interrupted by Conrad, of course. She informed me that herself, her goons, and myself are Newmans. She also told me that Ruben wasn't working on a cure. Oh, so many curveballs so fast.
Oh, it's a fake, you idiot!
I wanted to drown my sorrows and anger into the limbs of zombies, but I had someone else to confront. Ruben. That damn son of a bitch won't lie to me again, if it's the last thing I do. Or he does. Shit. I stomped back to the hotel and barged into the room to find Jimmy. It seems our resident trailer park trash put on his detective boots today. He freaked out and shot the blood drive, mistaking it for an unarmed black guy. But at least he had some decent information. He said Ruben had flown his helicopter to Hollywood Boulevard. It was time for me to see the stars. But before I stormed out, I was contacted by Emma Jaunt via radio. I got her up to speed on everything that happened and basically told her that I had to whore her out to some wacko vet in the sewers so he'd fly us out. Simple. I made my way back to the Palisades and found the Chihuahua laying in Emma's bed. I said my goodbyes and made my way to the sewers to meet Emma and Sam. I found my way back to the man cave and reminded Emma to put on her crotchless panties. I mean, this man fell to his knees after just 13 seconds of being in her presence.
Just fucking let me wank.
He was a little nervous about flying the helicopter, but after a pep talk from Emma, he started thinking with his Johnson again and was ready for action. We started through the metro but got split up after a power malfunction. Looks like I was alone again on this one. I completed some pipe puzzles, crawled through some vents, and continued fighting my way to freedom, but I was stopped by the metro engineer. And oh my god, this guy sucked. It took me a solid 20 minutes of just running in circles and kicking before I took out this fat bastard. He really wasn't even that hard, he just had a lot of health and a lot of help. But after I finally took him out, I grabbed the key and saw my friends. They were putting up a good fight. I made sure to just watch and not provide any support like the good friend I am. After my Emma taunt session, thank you, I finally saw the light. Little did I know this section was going to suck. This part of the game took me a good few tries to beat. I genuinely don't know how long it would have taken me if I didn't have that acid spill or that fire spill to rely on. Basically, my goal was just to train the zombies through them, just over and over and over. Taking a horde straight on with my fists was just stupid. So I played it patiently, didn't force anything, and finally, after a few attempts, I got it. I took the train further underground until I finally began to make my way up to the sunlight. I met up with the crew, who looked like shit, and we all helped each other make it to the helicopter. Sam was injured and not looking so hot, so it was a good time to say goodbye. But instead, I realized that I'm a hero, and that bad doctor is still out there. My now raging good conscience was about to burst unless I turned around to go help Tisha and confront Dr. Reed. So, of course, I did. I made my red carpet debut and went inside the theater for one final performance. I found myself in some skincare shop, but something was a little fishy. I did some digging in the back office and found a secret entrance? Don't mind if I do. I went through a tunnel and some doors to find my next victim placed perfectly for my attack. I confronted Dr. Reed but was interrupted by his heroic daughter who had no clue about anything until she knew everything. The truth finally came out, but much more than I ever even knew.
I modified an unborn baby.
Damn, bruh. Then he gave me some sort of antidote for the autophage, but before Tisha could even have her rebuttal, Dr. Reed mutated and became one of those things. Tisha got out unharmed and left me to deal with the big baddie. Time to tango with the Rango. Now, this boss fight really wasn't even that hard. The toughest part was just the arena being so small. As you hit different health thresholds on the Rubinator, more zombies begin to spawn, so it just becomes a crowded mess. But it was no matter. I continued with the strategy that I had deployed on damn near every boss and began running my trains. After a few minutes of kicking and circling, the Rubinator was Rubanihilated. Now it was time for me to get out. I ran to the exit as fast as I could, bobbing and weaving through the zombies with each step. After a long and anticlimactic run on the surprisingly empty red carpet, I made my way to the chopper and gave Sam the antidote. He gave me his weapon in return, and the three of them went on their way. I guess I still had unfinished business in this hellhole. Conrad and the Mute Squad were still out there, and Tisha was probably alone. There was plenty for me to get started on, but instead, I just started bashing. Wait, did this cutscene just lose me the challenge? Oh, get the fuck